Captain Starlog Supplemental. We've completed repairs of the Independence's engines in the hopes of using it as a shield to fly out of the planet's atmosphere. We've returned to Shuttlepod One, and Ensign Munro has just finished our pre-flight checks. No time like the present. Welcome back, everyone, to the third part of Caravan, a Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log mission. We will be continuing where we left off, and essentially are going to see if the Independence can indeed be used as a shield to get them out of danger. Now, one thing I want to point out, if you saw the shorts where I generated this mission's mission type, theme, incident, all of that stuff, you may have noticed that I have neglected the theme. And this is something that I really want to point out. Just because you have pre-generated some basic ideas of a mission does not mean you have to stick with them. As we went through this, there were a few points I could have injected that theme in, but frankly, it didn't seem like it was necessary to tell the kind of story that we want to. We're trying to make a story of humans from all walks of life coming together, solving a task, defeating a challenge, and coming out the other side alive. And frankly, injecting the unknown life form theme that I had rolled in the short doesn't necessarily seem to fit with where the story was going. So at this point, I'm just going to toss that to the wayside, and maybe we'll bring an unknown life form into a future mission. I don't know. But the key thing I wanted to point out is that you should never feel like you are locked in just because you rolled something. Let the story dictate what seems best. And that's advice I know some people are probably going to disagree with. But that's, frankly, the most important thing to me. If the story doesn't seem like it fits right with something that you just rolled randomly, ditch the thing you rolled randomly. So, let's go ahead and dive in. First off, we're going to go ahead and open with a shot of the space station, still in its spot over the atmospheric disturbance-free zone. And I think we're going to describe it this time in a way that I didn't in part one, as looking more like the eye of a storm than anything. We'll say the atmosphere is incredibly turbulent around it. Maybe there are thunderheads, gray storm clouds. Let's make them purplish gray, because that's just much more sci-fi. And suddenly we've got like this whirling vortex at the center of which is nothing. We get a clear line of sight to the ground. The camera will zoom through the eye of the storm, and we will see the Independence taking off with Shuttlepod One taking off right behind it. It's at this point that we're going to have the captain make a task, as he's going to try to program, and it's important to state that word, to program the Independence's flight path ahead of time. He's not flying the Independence, because that would imply that he's making course corrections as they go. He is using his knowledge of the orbital systems and all of that stuff to pre-program a determined flight path. So in this case, it's going to be a reason contest as opposed to a control or daring contest. So let's go ahead. Because it is con, we will switch to, let's see, that should be the gold. Target number is 12. This isn't necessarily difficult, but we'll see. So target number 12. That's a 3 and a 16. Excellent. So with that, we have our first success of Act 3. All right, so we see the Independence kind of soaring through the eye of the storm, this atmospheric whirlpool, sort of, and begin to turn spinward from their current location. And as the Independence flies up, we see Shuttlepod One zip into its shadow. Metaphorical shadow, because it's not actually the shadow, because I don't think the space station is likely in line with the central star. That doesn't matter. As the Independence kind of flies out, we're going to start a combat. And the reason I say that is because the space station is going to be firing on the Independence, and we need to know I'm essentially going to give them 3... Let's see. How do I want to do this? The Independence is a scale 2. So yeah, we're going to see if they can manage to get all 5 damage they need to destroy the Independence before they have 3 failures. Yeah, before they have 3 failures, then the Independence will be destroyed and we will have a new challenge for the Shuttlepod, as the Independence will still be within range, and thus the Shuttlepod will still be in range of the space station. So this is kind of like a more traditional extended task in Star Trek Adventures or in other role-playing games. We need 5 successes before we have 3 failures. That's the simple way of looking at it. So, because I don't have the ship's stats handy, I said in Act 1 that it was clearly more advanced than the NX class space frame of the Challenger, which has a weapons security of an 8. We're going to assume that we have a weapons security of a 10 for this space station. So essentially, we are giving a 50-50 shot on each singular die to roll what we need. And in this case, I'm again doing something a little weird. I'm not rolling for the hero ship. And because the Independence isn't firing back, the space station will not take damage when they fail. The damage that they would take is instead misses that eat up time for the Independence to get away. Hope that was all clear. It was clear to me. Let's just go for it. So, our first shot as the Independence comes into range with the Shuttlepod behind it. That is a success. The Independence starts to take damage. We see some flashes of lights silhouetted by the frame of the Independence itself. And we'll say that it's this thing has blue weapons. That's cool, right? Second shot, 17 and a 20. We have a failure. Color me surprised. And in this case, that does not generate a threat because I'm working for the enemy side. I think that works. Makes sense to me. All right, let's go ahead and fire again. Wow, a 13 and a 14. The Independence is making headway. It's whatever they did to the engines. It is the Independence is moving faster than they expected. The Shuttlepod is easily able to catch up. It's not moving nearly as much mass, but the Independence has almost gotten them out of weapons range. Okay, that is a 5 and a 15. So that is the second success for the space station. Although, you know what? I'm going to spend our momentum and re-roll that 5. That worked. It's a 19. So a 15 and a 19 is our third failure, which for the crew of the Challenger is a success. Awesome. Now, hopefully that's a very cinematic thing. Hopefully you can picture it. We've got the Independence getting absolutely blown to pieces as it flies past the space station. With each successive shot, the Shuttlepod is seeing more and more getting blasted away, seeing more and more of the light of their energy weapons, and it looks like at any moment the shots are going to get through and begin to attack the Shuttlepod itself. Now, all the while this has been going on, Ensign Munro has been trying to keep in its shadow. This is not easy, so I'm going to make her do a roll. Once again, back to our yellow dice for our helm. Ensign Munro. In this case, it's a control con. It's not as much daring as she's literally hiding behind another ship. So we're looking at a 15. She's a little better at this than she is at daring con. 13 and a 4, we get our momentum back. Excellent. So Ensign Munro is 100% spot on. Every course correction that Captain Bronson has to tap in to keep the Independence, like the bulk of the Independence covering the Shuttlepod, Ensign Munro is able to track that and maintain position, keeping the Independence between them and the station. All right, so that is our third success. Once again, this might be a short act, but what we're going to see is Now, let's see. Let's fire off another shot, actually, from the station at the Independence. It's another failure. Wow. My dice rolls are excellent if I'm playing D&D, and excellent in this particular case because I want to roll high numbers. So yeah, the station fires one last salvo, and then the shots stop. And we see that they're still in range, but they are not continuing to fire. And it's certainly peculiar. But as the shuttle pod tracks into the Challenger, again, I'm hoping this is a very cinematic scene. Similar in, let's see, it should be Terra Prime, the Real Enterprise finale. The scene where Shuttlepod One is piloted by Travis under the comet as it comes in, working to terraform Mars. Love that shot. They finally gave Travis something good to do. Long conversation there. But hopefully it's that kind of cinematic sequence. Now the shuttlepod comes in, docks with the Challenger, who didn't have to get into harm's way, and we very quickly see Dr. Kieran and the couple of Makos take Captain Carr up to sickbay. And I think we're going to do one last task to roll. Actually, we'll do two, and I think this fits pretty well. The first one, we're going to see if Dr. Kieran can actually get Captain Rosa Carr, on the mend, as it were. Now, he did get her stable, so I'm going to make this a difficulty 1, target number 14 for Dr. Kieran. Okay, rolled a 15 and an 18. Going to spend our momentum. He wants to save her. Let's reroll that 18. And 11. Excellent. So, Dr. Kieran, Therolos Kieran, our Andorian Chief Medical Officer, using some techniques that are... he tries using Starfleet techniques and things from the human medical chronicles, looking at Grey's Anatomy and the standard techniques of human medicine. And quickly through the surgery, he realizes that what he's doing isn't working, so he turns to a standard Andorian practice and quickly tries to modify it on the fly. That's where we're spending our momentum. And it is successful. It manages to work. So he manages to stop the internal bleeding, manages to bring her out of the coma, and she will survive, which is excellent. I'm going to just put a little check mark next to her name on my piece of paper. And the last task that we're going to go through here, it's going to be another bit of a shorter finale. We're going to have Captain Bronson try and analyze what little data from the engines he was able to collect. See if they can't figure out why the warp drive malfunctioned. So, because I didn't explicitly state this earlier, because I'm a dummy and didn't think about it, I'm going to make it a difficulty 2 task. One success will be able to give them a little bit of information, but not nearly as much as they could have. And I don't think I've got any good values here, no good focuses. No good values here. But we're going to go ahead and give this a shot. Reason Science of 15. 2 successes. Here we go. That's 1 success. The basic data that Bronson was able to collect on the Independence, and that the Challenger was able to collect on the Independence as it got closer. Actually, you know what? The Independence is out of weapons range of that space station. So they would be able to get more detailed scans, and one success, I think, is going to be more than enough. So yeah, they're going to be able to send a full report back to the Earth Cargo Authority, and wherever they got that warp drive from, I imagine it's based on the Archer Warp 5 engine, but with some modifications, as it doesn't need, quote-unquote need, to be quite as powerful. And certainly the space frame of the J-class freighters is not up to anything faster than Warp 3. But they're able to determine what the cause was, and I don't know the parts of a warp drive well enough. Maybe it's the Cochrane manifold. That sounds like a part of a warp drive. The Cochrane manifold malfunctioned, and I don't know. No, we'll leave it at Cochrane. The Cochrane manifold malfunctioned. Excellent. So that is going to be our last task for this act accomplished. Things definitely took a different turn than I expected. Maybe we would have been better off using the unknown lifeform thing. Maybe, in fact, if you want to, we can say that it malfunctioned because there's some parasitic lifeform from the assembly facility on Mars that came from some other ship, some other freighter somewhere. That's not a bad thing, but anyways, could have been a little more exciting perhaps if we'd done something more akin to like the Horta had been living in the engine, something of that style. I don't know. But still a good adventure, a good mission. I think we learned a little bit about particularly Ensign Munro. Got to see her in action. Hopefully some exciting scenes. Everybody loves a good tense piloting scene in Star Trek. Some of the most fun episodes of Voyager when Tom Paris is flying the Delta Flyer through some crazy situation. We will be continuing with the Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log missions in the near future. At some point, will likely have to take some time off. The month of November is National Novel Writing Month, and for the last, I guess this is going to be my 5th year taking part in that. Basically, the goal is to write 50,000 words towards a novel in the course of the 30 days of November. I've managed to do it the last 4 years in a row, and would like to continue for a 5th. So there's a good chance that I will not be able to continue these in the month of November. But hopefully I'll be able to do something that requires a little less time. Maybe I'll do this once in the middle of the month and then do a recap of some other things. Maybe we sit down and talk for half an hour on other methods of generating missions. I can think of a few ideas that don't actually require this book at all. Maybe some things that stick within the writing realm. I don't know. But just wanted to give that heads up as we get closer to November. The content will be likely a little bit different. Hopefully still tracking towards Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log. If not, we'll be taking a look at Star Trek Infinite when that comes out as well, and maybe that grows some legs, and we're continuing that play through into November as well. In the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed this mission. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, especially of the stuff I've talked about. And until next time, live long and prosper.